Hello everyone, my name is Brooklyn.
And my name is Asia. And we are in Mount Zion's Kids Blast.
I want to welcome you to Mount Zion Up Front.
I hope you enjoy your experience with us today.
Hello everyone, I'm Ron and you're watching Upfront, where we take a few minutes to let you know what's going on here at Mount Zion. Our mission is empowering people to transform themselves and the community. We see a vibrant community living by faith. Here are a few things going on here at Mount Zion.
Greetings, I'm Minister Ryan Jackson. Here's some important information you need to know. Let's celebrate the life and legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. The MLK program will be today at 4 p.m. at Galilee Baptist Church. The guest speaker will be Dr. Forrest E. Harris Jr., the president of the American Baptist College in Nashville, Tennessee. Let us come and honor Dr. King for his inspirational leadership. Speaking of leadership, for all of Mount Zion, the service for the 2015 installation of officers will be this Wednesday, January 21st at 6:45 p.m. Come and see what God is doing at Mount Zion. In John 3:16, God showed his love to us by giving his only begotten Son. So in return, let us maintain a culture of 100% givers in 2015. Allow God to lead you as you cheerfully give your tithes and offering. Give because you love God and to help spread the love of God to the world. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, coming in February, it's a Super Bowl fellowship, February 1st. And get ready for the Spiritual Awakening Revival, February 8th through the 10th. So mark your calendars. More information will come later.
How important is children's ministry? Well, more than half of people who will ever believe in Christ will do so by the age of 12. And by the time a child is 9, their basic moral foundation has already been formed. By age 13, a person has formed their first basic beliefs about the nature of God, the reliability of the Bible, the existence of an afterlife, and the everlasting love of Jesus Christ. Through children's ministry, we have a chance to engage the hearts of these children when they are most open to the gospel. We are able to step into their lives through all the gifts like teaching, serving, administration, and evangelism. You could get a chance to share the gospel with a child for the first time in his or her life, or help them form their first thoughts of who God is. Please know, we don't want this to be an obligation. We want this to be a pleasure. We want you to volunteer because you want to help your church raise its children as you raise your own. By helping us in children's ministry in any capacity, you help them see that Jesus is real.
On August 28, 1963, 250,000 people gathered in the nation's capital for the historic March on Washington for Jobs and Freedom. The march rallied Americans to stand up against the continuing political and social injustices African Americans still faced 100 years after emancipation. The march took place at a critical moment in the civil rights movement. Tension and racial unrest had been building up throughout the year, with anti-segregation demonstrators making headlines in Alabama and President John F. Kennedy announcing his intention to pass civil rights legislation. The timing was right for a massive demonstration. Due to security concerns, internal marshals were trained to ensure order within the crowd. But as it turned out, the marchers chose peace, not violence, that sunny Wednesday. The event featured speeches from prominent leaders and musical performances by Josephine Baker, Joan Baez, Bob Dylan, Mahalia Jackson, and many others. The march is probably best remembered for Martin Luther King Jr.'s acclaimed "I Have a Dream" speech. But we bet you didn't know the real story behind those famous words. King was the last speaker that afternoon, but not because he chose to be. King only spoke last that day because no one else wanted to. When organizers of the march debated who would speak when and for how long, none of the other speakers wanted the last slot because they figured most of the news crews would head out by mid-afternoon. King agreed to go last and to limit his remarks to only 4 minutes. And he didn't have to worry about not making the news. The audience gladly stuck around for his 16-minute speech. And you might be surprised to learn that King hadn't even intended to talk about his now famous dream that day. During a pause in his prepared speech, Mahalia Jackson called out from behind the podium, "Tell him about the dream, Martin." She was referring to a theme King had touched on in a speech 2 months earlier in Detroit. Honoring her request, King departed from his prepared remarks and delivered the legendary speech we all remember today. Historians believe that the marches and King's speech were important catalysts in passing the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and the Voting Rights Act of 1965. Today, a memorial marks the spot where Martin Luther King described his dream of a better America in one of the most influential and memorable speeches in American history.
Again, we're glad you joined us today. Check your bulletin for further information, and we'll see you next time on Upfront. Now, get ready for an exciting and powerful worship experience.